Hello everybody and welcome to week 2 of the Formula Ford EuroSOF here on iRacing. We are here for the second round here at Mosport, the Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Dry conditions this time, considering last time we raced here it was slightly soggy. So we're going to see some great slipstreaming action around this circuit and battling all the way to the end. Drivers are out for qualifying at this moment in time. We only have 11 drivers here because it's split, but we do have a high quality field of 4.9 being the SOF. So an almost 5k SOF is going for the Formula Fords. On the field and have a look at how qualifying is getting on. Going to have a look at the number one driver at this moment in time. It is Jarno Marku, who's in the number one car going on to his lap, and we'll take a ride with Marku as he starts his qualifying, heading down into turn number one. It's a fast right-hand corner. It's just slightly to keep it going, balances the throttle on exit to make sure that he gets off that exit curb and up into turn number two. You sweep to the right-hand side, then sweep to the left, mid-corner, drift away from the apex, and then take the second apex, and you're already up to turn number three. All long corners, these, all about getting a great exit, because the longer the straight gets after each corner. Now we come up to the technical part of the circuit, which is a hard braking downhill zone. As you can see, it goes downhill. You've got to start braking and then look for the uphill right-hander and then keep that back end in check. He does so, uses all the runoff on the left-hand side, and now you can take your sandwiches out and have a bit of a picnic and a rest as you head down this back straight. It does curve a little bit, but not a lot for the drivers to do in the race. Obviously, this is the main point for the slipstreaming, but we'll see how that goes during the race. But Marku keeping it to the shortest line down the straight, and then comes down into the final few corners. Doesn't really pick an apex till really late, where he glues to that second curb, and he goes to the apex of the left-hander and into the right-hander. It's all about keeping the momentum up around the corner. Does so brilliantly, and he comes across the line. That should be an improvement on his time, and we're just going to have a look here. Yes, it is an improvement. It is 25.71. So that is a driver who's back on form after missing the last round. David Garrett has popped up into second place, but a clear 7/10 of a second off Marku. Frederick Surley in third, Edward Cannon currently in fourth, ahead of Graham Roy Hunt and Philip Lindquist as Andrew Petty pops up into fifth place. Daniel Case is in eighth, ahead of Eric Van Spijker, Zhao Lao and Yves Royale. Let's just see if Zhao is out on the circuit. Zhang, sorry, my apologies, Zhang. Out on the circuit at this moment in time. He's coming through to complete what might be his second qualifying lap, but his first, which will actually count. The nice open expanse to this circuit, which gives you plenty of chance to overtake and slipstream past people. But through the final few corners, he comes with his qualifying effort onto the final corner, turn away from pit lane, then close in on it on the exit, runs to the line, and let's see where that will put Zhang as he comes across the line. It pops him into seventh place in car number two, so just behind Graham Roy Hunt, and we have a high class field, as I said. Frederick Surley pops it up into second place. We missed that one. I thought he'd finished qualifying, but he pops it up 4/10 clear of David Garrett. Obviously, with all this, it depends on how they've got the car set up. It's qualifying its couple of laps. When the slipstream comes in, there'll be no getting away from each other. Have a look further back here. Here's Yves Real, driver having a good first outing, and I'll be even more impressed if that's a player's livery on the car. Yes, it is. Old-fashioned 1995 Jacques Villeneuve player's livery on that Formula Ford. Just perfect for the Mosport circuit. He's very wide in the second to last complex. Will he get the apex for the last? No, he's away from the apex on that final corner and actually gives up the lap, probably because he was going to come in last place anyway with the way that lap was going. Zhang, this is his second attempt. Runs wide on the exit, kicks up a bit of dirt, and does that improve his time of a 1:26.99? It does, up into fourth place, an improvement to 4/10 of a second, and into the top pack goes Zhang. So this is going to be mightily close racing. Yes, you may see a second between first and sixth, but this is in qualifying trim. You're by yourself. It is so difficult to break that slipstream away in these races. So let's see how we get on with that. Let's say that's qualifying over with, and we will have a look at our grid before we turn to the race. Jarno Marcu qualifies on the pole position. The Finnish driver who missed round number 1 is back with a bang in round number 2. 4/10 clear of Frederick Surley. On the second row grid is David Garrett and Zhang Lao, ahead of Edward Buchanan and Andrew Petty making it into the top 6. Graham Roy Hunt in 7th ahead of Philip Lindquist, Daniel Case, Eric Van Spijker and Yves Brial. So ironically, that really does pace through the grid really quickly. But as I said, high quality field here. Really a high quality field. So we'll see how they get on. You can see Barney and Flagman ready to wave the green flag and start this race off. Now, see, this is actually the viewpoint from the starter. So this will be an interesting view to see what happens at the start of this race. Just waiting for one driver to jump up on the grid, maybe just making a few changes, because that is the Canadian Real on the back row of the grid. Here we go. Oh, the pole man disappearing. Is that for a reason? No, he's back. He must have been checking something on his car, or it was his connection, which we'll find out as the race goes on. Mosport Park looking wonderful. The cars are all gridded. Here we go. The lights will come ablaze 5 at a time, and we're going to be racing here in Mosport. Away they go. It's a good start by the front row. There's a good start in the middle of the pack by third place. David Garrett as well, so the leaders will lead their way through. Everybody just getting into single file at this moment in time. Small grid but competitive grid as Marcu defends down into turn number 2. He wants to lead this pack and try and stretch it early on in this race. Frederick Surley in third, David Garrett third, Zhang in fourth. The only change was between Andrew Petty and Graham Roy Hunt off the line, but apart from that, you can see in the background there is Graham Roy Hunt, who has moved up ahead of Andrew Petty. Andrew Petty having a look back at Hunt down into this far section of the circuit. He's going to have the inside line and takes the position, but all this fighting is going to lose the front group, so they need to get straight back onto that and try and catch up in front, because there's a gap now just in front of Andrew Petty. But they come down the back straight. It's Marcu, then Garrett right up behind Surley. Will he try and make the run or just push Surley along? It looks like he's pushed Surley along, and Surley looks to be outside of Marcu going into the long right-hander. That will be a brave move by Surley if he pulls that one off. Doesn't quite, slots back in behind the race leader and lives to fight another day. Third place Garrett being challenged by Zhang, but the top 4 making a little bit of a gap back to Edward Buchanan at this moment in time, and they cross the line for the first time. And there is your order: Marcu, Surley, Garrett, Zhang, Buchanan, and then Petty, who runs wide in the background. Andrew Petty off the circuit in the background, going to lose a few more places to Hunt and Lindquist, who got past Hunt as well, and very skittish, trying to clean the tyres there for Andrew Petty. Not what he was after at the start of this race, and will be trying to look a bit further ahead, but we've got a crash for Yves Royal. Coming out of a pit, has he just ended up with a pit start by the looks of it, and he comes out and just stops. Maybe an issue there for Yves, who then jumps to the pits. But Peddy now needing to try and find a little bit of rhythm in this race as he's been shuffled back a couple of places, but back at the front, Surly then again looking to the outside. It might even be 3 wide if Garrett wants to make it 3 wide. He doesn't at this stage. Surly around the outside, still not able to just get that overlap on Markey. He runs wide. He will slot back in behind Markey just on a repeat of lap number 1 and try and stay in that slipstream. The top 5 have pulled away. Edward Buchanan has hung on to a little chance there in the field. We've just got a pass here actually from Graham Roy Hunt as expected down the straight, gets past Philip Lindquist, and that is an easy 6th place take for Graham Roy Hunt. We're back at the front. Marku leads. Stretched that gap out through the last couple of corners actually, so that's been good news for Marku. He's now not under pressure, unlike Surly, who's got Garrett right up behind him. And Surly feeling the need to be a little bit defensive. And Marku's off the track. Marku runs wide through that tough circuit at the back of the circuit. And that's the first mistake made by Marku. He had a gap, he now doesn't. As we look behind, because Garrett is challenging Frederick Surly. Zhang wants part of this. Actually, Garrett's got such a run, he might even be able to try and take the lead. Oh, and he's off. He's off. That's Garrett spinning around in the background. Was there a touch there by Zhang, the Chinese driver? I kind of think there might have been. As we'll have a look now. Oh, he was already going round at that point. But here we go. Have a look from Zhang, and he's tried to bump draft in Formula Fords, which doesn't really work, and it's spun Garrett out of this race. We've got other drivers going off track here. Graham Roy Hunt running. Oh, Hunt round at turn number 1, just manages to keep it along the wall rather than into the wall, and he should be okay with that one. Action all the way already here as we now look at Frederick Surly trying to hold off Edward Buchanan for 3rd place, because Zhang has made it through with that, shall we say, questionable overtake with David Garrett. But all of that action has meant the second group, headed by Philip Lindquist, Andrew Peddy, Eric Van Spijker and Daniel Case, are all actually trying to move up and gain a little bit closer to that group. Unless they start fighting, it's going to be a 2-part race by the looks of this. Even at this quite early stage of only quarter of the race gone, as Peddy is trying to look for a way around Lindquist, but trying to work together as well. Zhang has run a little bit wide on the exit for the final corner. That hasn't affected him, as Marku continues to try and lead this race out at the front. He's got a 1.4 second lead currently ahead of Zhang. Here is your only driver currently in the 25-second mark for a lap time. It is Jarno Marku, who missed the opening round of the season. Surly's got past Zhang. Here we go, the two are side by side heading towards the back of the circuit. Frederick Surly makes his way past, so there must have been a mistake there by Zhang at some point for P2, because the gap was not that close when we last saw it. And Frederick Surly slides the Ray Formula Ford 1600 through the top corner and onto the back straight. Now this is obviously where somebody like Edward Buchanan will be loving the chance here. He gets a lovely slipstream. Zhang pulls to the outside of Surly. Here comes Edward Buchanan, and he's got such a run that he's got nowhere to go. You can hear him off the throttle. He doesn't want to dive up the inside and make it 3 wide. He lets these two fight, but he can see Marku getting away in front, and that's not going to help anybody try and win this race. There's contact between the two in front, and Edward Buchanan goes through. And Frederick Surley is falling down the order. Zhang has got going again, so has Frederick Surley. But what happened there? We'll have to have a look. If we can find it very, very quickly. Yes, we can. Here we go. Zhang just contact, I think. We'll try to have a look at it again from the onboard camera of Zhang. Yeah, just went for a gap that wasn't there. The second piece of contact, unnecessary contact with Zhang in this race, and it's allowed Frederick Surley to fall down the order and Edward Buchanan up into second place. There's Frederick Surley now recovered. He's still ahead of Graham Hunt, who hasn't pitted for that damage, so he managed to make it through. David Garrett is back on the circuit as well. We have a look at currently, and Andrew Petty has made his way through to third place. And this is what I was on about earlier. If they don't fight, they can get involved when incidents happen. And it's worked perfectly for Philip Lindquist, Andrew Petty, Eric Van Spijker and Daniel Case, who are all now in the top 6. 2 by 2 they go. It's like going into Noah's Ark, and it's Petty who comes out on top of that one. Then it's Spijker who's made his way past Lindquist. He's in the dark purple car, and then the yellow car at the back of Daniel Case. All of these drivers trying to get the best position. Lindquist now had a look at Spijker down into turn number 1, but Spijker carrying the momentum going through. Did he get a little bit? Yeah, Spijker got a little bit sideways on that curve. That's allowed Lindquist to look around the outside of turn number 2. Lindquist is still there. We've got to look back, and Lindquist has made it around the outside of turn number 2. What a great move that was. I know the momentum was lost for Spijker, and Daniel Case has also made it through, but I think he made it through on the inside of Spijker. And just behind, here comes Zhang back for a little bit more. Zhang dives straight away up the inside of Spijker. Spijker's on the gravel on the outside, but manages to make it through. But that is Zhang back up into 6th place. Spijker in 7th, Surley in 8th. Is Surley close enough to get some slipstream? No, he's not this time. So we'll just see. I think they're all going to be pretty spread out for each other at the moment. Actually, Petty has escaped at the front. He's ran away as quickly as he can while these were fighting at the start of this lap, and he now has a secure-ish 3rd place, but he's travelling by himself. Slipstream important around here. So if this group can start to work together, they could catch Petty and even Buchanan, who's just up the road. Didn't actually realise how close Edward Buchanan has dropped off Jarno Marku, and is actually really starting to feel the pressure from Andrew Petty, who's only 1.4 seconds behind him. So if Petty can set a quicker lap time, which he has done the last couple of laps compared to Buchanan, Petty could be in line for a 2nd place by the end of this race, because we're only just over half distance here at Mosport. Buchanan breaks down into the tight circuit piece at the far end of the circuit, uses all the runoff and a little bit more. He's really starting to feel that Petty is coming back towards him slowly but surely. We'll have a look at this group behind though, because Daniel Case is now lining up a move on Philip Lindquist into the top part, and as always, this person with the slipstream has to go to the outside of the circuit. And will he make it through? Go on board with Lindquist. He's made it through. So they're not alongside anymore. Lindquist decides to pull in very quickly behind Daniel Case and use the slipstream rather than suffering 2 passes going through. Right up the back of Daniel Case there. Maybe a little bit too close. That's lost him a bit of time. And if we go back to on board with Zhang, it gives Zhang a chance to have a look up the inside of Lindquist, but decides better of it. Too many incidents so far in this race for Zhang. He wants to try and make it through this group cleanly. So Lindquist in 5th, Zhang in 6th. We've got Spiker and Surly 7th and 8th. With Graham Roy Hunt a long way off the back of the pack. 7 seconds off the back of the pack, sorry, in 9th, ahead of David Garrett, who's the driver, a long way off the back of the pack, but not a lap down at this point. That's crucial, because if there's an instant on the final lap, he'll be able to take advantage of it. This is the closest battle we have on the circuit at the moment. It's Daniel Case leading Philip Lindquist and Zhang now, who is in 6th place overall, 2 down on his qualifying. The biggest mover so far has been Daniel Case, moving his way quietly through the field. But Lindquist now having a look at the American down towards the final part of the circuit. It is almost like straight line mode sometimes with the slipstream in these cars. And Lindquist goes around the outside and retakes 4th place from Daniel Case. Again, he's fighting, just allowing Andrew Petty to sneak off a little bit quickly. Edward Buchanan has responded to Petty being there, but the gap's there or thereabouts. It doesn't change much. So Petty's going to have to really find something in this last part of this race, because also Philip Lindquist and Daniel Case group is coming back to Petty very, very quickly. Stick with this group, as it has now become a group of 5, because on the back of it is Eric Van Spiker and Frederick Surly. Surly up the inside of Spiker to take 7th place. Drivers really close on iRacing here, and Spiker's come back actually in the background, but doesn't manage to make it. So Frederick Surly down 5 positions after being on the front row, but now in a position to attack the guys in front, especially when they start fighting. But Lindquist leading this group towards Petty. See, Petty is now dropping into only 7 tenths ahead, so the slipstream will be making a difference for Lindquist. But Case has a look around the inside. Lindquist defends to the inside, and he manages to hold off the fluoro yellow Valentine Rossi machine. And then just behind is Zhang in the custom red and white of the Formula Ford from iRacing. Cannon just up the road, and it's Petty, Lindquist's Case, Zhang, and then the last 2 in that group. Surly and Spiker just drifted off again a little bit with their fighting on the last lap, but with the slipstream in these cars can make all the difference, especially along that long back straight. So you've just got to keep yourself in contention, see how you get on, as the only driver still to set a 25-second lap time is Jarno Marku, who's running out in front. Sorry, no, that's a lie, because Zhang set at 25.8 last time round. The fastest man on the circuit actually last time round. So we'll see how he gets on. Now that he's sitting in that slipstream, it's great for fastest lap, but it's not great in terms of making up positions because he's down in 6th. Only one retirement is Yves Royal, the Canadian, one of 2 Canadians in this race. Edward Buchanan on home soil at this moment in time, 8 seconds off the lead. Petty has been caught here by this group. This is what I meant by the slipstreams. Very, very quickly you can catch up, as Marky sets a new fastest lap of the race with a 25.53. Nobody getting near that. Marky just pulling away sector by sector. Lindquist looks to the inside of Petty down into turn number 1, makes a move and cleanly covers it off, but Petty's still on the inside for turn number 2. So will Petty fight it back? Yes, he will. Slides it into turn number 2 and takes the position back off Lindquist. This is going to be an ongoing battle, which is going to allow Daniel Case and Zhang to catch up. So there's still a chance here of any of these drivers finishing on the podium, as Lindquist cuts to the inside on the cutback. Petty stays alongside him, keeps his foot in. He's going to have the inside through the left-hander, but the outside for the braking area, and he makes it because Lindquist really didn't want to hold on. Case covers from Zhang as well. As Zhang has a look up the inside, wheels bang with Daniel Case, but luckily for both of them, it was wheel-to-wheel contact, so no issues with that. And actually, Frederick Surly is now having a look at Zhang and making his way through. Petty and Lindquist are side by side. It's hard to know where to look at the moment. Surly has passed Zhang into position, and Philip Lindquist is now up onto a podium position. Can Petty get him around the outside? No, he can't. So Andrew Petty in the Toyota Fiend Formula Ford will slip into 4th place for now, but we still got 2.5 minutes of this race to go, so we're probably looking at 2, maybe 3 more laps. Depends if Jarno Marku, who can back off now, decides to keep on pushing and make it a 3-lap race. A 3-lap race to the end, should I say. Petty staying in the slipstream. This is the closest battle. Can these guys then go catch Edward Buchanan in front? They've got the cars to do so, but how can they catch? Daniel Case defends from Frederick Surly down into turn number 3. Wide by Lindquist, that's allowed Petty through. Oh, Lindquist, all that hard work to catch him up, and then you run wide as soon as you've took the position. So Petty back up into 3rd place. Lindquist in 4th, Case in 5th. Out onto the back straight, very wide by Lindquist again. He's pushing as hard as he can. But here we go. Let's see who's the first to pull out the slipstream. Petty comes with a queue behind him. Will they try and stay together just for this one lap? It doesn't look like it, because it's pass or be pass. Lindquist to the outside. Case having a sniff up the inside, but that won't work. And Petty goes back through into 3rd place. Tire squeals from Petty as he takes that tighter line. He's going to have a tough line through the final corner. That's going to allow Lindquist. We've got the white flag, so this is the last lap. This is your last chance to make that podium position. And Lindquist goes up into 3rd. Petty looks to the outside of turn number 2. He's just trying to make Lindquist start sliding. Tries to get the cut back there. It won't work. But he is in the best position for the slipstream on the back straight, so he probably doesn't want to make this pass at this time. Surly very wide in turn number 3. That's going to allow Zhang back through. Spikers on the back of this group as well. This is basically it, apart from Jarno Marku and Edward Buchanan out in front. Marku a clear 11 seconds, a dominant drive so far. Fastest lap, pole position, and should be a race victory. As we'll try and keep half an eye on these as Jarno Marku will come round towards the flag. Down the back straight, we've got to look at this racing. I'm sorry, Jarno Marku, we'll get to you in a minute, but let's see if anybody can take these positions. Spiker gets past Zhang. They've decided that's their battle at the back of the field. Who's going to have this? Petty on the outside, Lindquist on the inside. Petty sweeps through on the outside, sliding it. Lindquist still on the inside. Now they'll swap. Petty still trying to hold that inside line, but Lindquist has got the inside line for the final corner, and Petty trying to hold on around the outside. He will get the run off the corner, but who will get the position as they come across the line? Marku wins, Buchanan 2nd, Lindquist takes 3rd on the line ahead of Petty, Surly and Case. Wow, what a race that has been. Sadly, we completely missed Jarno Marku for the whole of that race. He hasn't even hung around to find him on the circuit. Edward Buchanan has just pulled over as well. There is Philip Lindquist, who gets 3rd place for all that trouble at the line. Just waiting. I think we've got one more driver. Sorry, my forgiveness. We still got David Garrett. It's persevering on the final lap as he comes through the final few corners. So unlucky. Could have been on the podium here today, and that incident with Zhang might be looked at by the iRacing stewards, changing the result at a later date. Your race results here on Formula Ford EuroSOF night. It is Jarno Marku who takes victory on his return, 11.2 seconds clear of Edward Buchanan, who had a quiet drive to 2nd place, the Canadian, at his home event. Philip Lindquist takes 3rd on the line, 700ths of a second ahead of Andrew Petty. who moved up 2 places into 4th. Frederick Surley dropped 3 places after his incident, and he is down in 5th place tonight. Daniel Case, the American, up into 6th. Zhang, who had an adventurous night, in 7th. Eric Van Spiker finishing in 8th place. Graham Roy Hunt in 9th after his spin at turn number 1, and David Garrett in 10th, finishing the race after his contact with Zhang in the final part of the lap. Israel tried to start the race and ended up having to pull to the pits, so he finishes down in 11th. That's it here for Formula Ford on Monday nights. There is your race results, sorry. There is circuit. We will be back next Monday for the 3rd round of the series. Remember, there will be the iRacing Championship and a separate soft championship result. So next time out, we'll give you some kind of idea how the soft championship is going. But for now, until we go to Snetterton in, is it Norfolk or Cambridgeshire? Oh, it's difficult to know. But to go to Snetterton down near Cambridge in the UK on the 200 circuit, so no infield section for this, and then 2 weeks time we'll be in Portland for no chicane week there. So it's going to be fast flowing circuits for the next few. The full course at Virginia International Raceway as well, very open and flowing, and then they head to Mexico for round 6, and that will be the halfway point of the season. But for now, well done to Jarno Marku, who takes victory here tonight at Mosport, and we will see you next week for Snetterton. Let's see who's going to come out on top then. Okay, everybody. I am also going to go through the results very, very quick. Going to go through the things that happened in the race very, very quickly. So I will just hide away standings so you can't see them. Down the bottom. Don't ask me what that car is. Anyway, I pressed the wrong button somewhere. Yes, must have pressed the wrong button somewhere. Anyway, let's have a quick look at what happened in that race. So we'll go all the way back to the green flag. I'll just get that started. That. First thing that happened was Petty went off track. This was just a running wide, and Matt, yes, when he ran wide and managed to, he did the right thing, you see, over that curb. If you catch that curb and keep driving, you're not going to do it. So if you watch, he straightens the wheel as soon as he's on it, because he knows he's got to get off it or you're going to spin out, which is what Graham Hunt did afterwards. Let's have a look what's here. Things did not happen well for Israel. I think he must have had some issue. We had Jarno Marku. This was the only mistake he made all night. I would say faultless, but he actually got back end turned for the corner quite well, and he got a good run out of it. So maybe not the thing. Then we had David Garrett's crash, which we saw is an issue for Zhao. Just bump draft's the wrong part of him, my friend. If you're going to bump draft the centre. And he gets there to go centre, then he just comes slightly right, and that's going to spin Garrett out, and I don't think Garrett will be too happy about that one. Then Eric Van Spiker went off the track on the exit of turn number 1. He again, that was in, so actually he's followed Graham in there, and the difference is, look, again, Mr. Spiker straightens his wheel when he knows he's on the curb. If we go to Graham, does he carry on turning? Actually get on the curb as much as I thought he did. Trying to turn hard right, gets up, yeah. Oh, it just spits him. He's on the wrong part of the curb, that's all. There's one part of it where you get on it and there isn't saving it whether you do anything, to be fair, and he found it. So not ideal for Graham. Garrett returned. Zhang went off the track. This was there's just no room with Surly. It was a night to forget for Zhang, I think. As you can see, he just goes for the move and there isn't really space to do so. That door was always going to close, and that obviously put Surly back downfield a little bit as well. Let's see from Surly's point of view. Yeah, just there was never the gap there. Tries to catch it, and actually because he spins round, he's the one who loses the most time. Baker went off track. Ooh, somehow held that. And then he does it again on the next lap. Yeah, not ideal. And then we will see it because we had them fighting here on the last lap. Here's Jarno Marku crossing the line to take victory, not even knowing where anybody else is. I mean, look at his rear-facing camera. No one here. He celebrated and we couldn't even see it, Jarno. So what we'll do is we'll end it with a slow-mo of you winning it in TV2, shall we? Here we go. Jarno Marku, the winner of your soft race. I will check questions in the chat in a minute. There we go. Let's have a look. Any questions in the chat? Allow have a high ping. Let me have a nosy at why he's... I don't know if it tells me anymore. No, because he's not in here anymore. He did end up on 7x. Frederick had 8. All of them not his fault, I think, pretty much. It's a low rate instant race, to be fair. It's very good. Right, where are we now? Ross, as he is streaming now, and to be fair, we're just finishing off here. If you could stay with us if you are here. And we're going to go say hello to Mr. Andrew Petty, who was in that race. There might actually be 2 of us going across. That'll be a miracle and a half. Petty. Andy T for a follow. Go and do PCC now. Yeah, we'll go raid him anyway. There's only 2 of us, but we'll do it because we said what we'll try and do. Oh,